The disaster at the Fukushima Daiichi plant in Japan has set off a debate in the international community about the future of nuclear power. Demonstrations against the use of nuclear power have drawn thousands in India, in South Korea, in Germany, Japan, Brazil, Taiwan. Governments have taken notice of the renewed safety concerns of nuclear power. There are currently 440 reactors in operation worldwide, generating about 14% of global electricity, and plans for new construction have soared in the last decade. India and China in particular have set ambitious targets for expanding their nuclear programs. China has plans to construct 70 new nuclear power reactors by 2020. On Monday, the fifth review meeting of the Convention on Nuclear Safety kicked off in Vienna. The UN atomic watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is the primary international body that builds international cooperation around nuclear safety. However, unlike their regulatory role with nuclear proliferation, the IAEA has no authority to enforce safety recommendations when it comes to nuclear power.
Reuters reports that thousands of Italians gathered in Rome on March 26 to demonstrate against the use of nuclear power in their country. Italy's government has said it will announce a one-year moratorium on site selection and building of nuclear power plants following the crisis at the Japanese plant of Fukushima. But Italians remain skeptical that the government will stop its plans. Today we want to let people know why nuclear power is dangerous. After Fukushima, we can only deduce that nuclear power is a dangerous thing, and we are here in the piazza precisely because in Italy there has been a moratorium on nuclear power for 1 year. But we were saying no forever, yes to the sun, no to nuclear. Italy is prone to earthquakes and is the only group of 8 industrialized nations that does not produce nuclear power. But Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has said he hopes atomic plants can generate a quarter of Italy's electricity in the future. Berlusconi also has plans to privatize the country's water supply.
I think now the time has come to say stop, because after Fukushima we are on the verge of disaster, and then the fact that they want to sell water is incredible. We have to stop it. We have to send this government away because they are selling our souls. That's what they're doing.
The Japanese accident has reignited concerns about nuclear safety in Italy, where atomic power was rejected by a public vote in 1987 following the Chernobyl disaster. A national vote on the construction of new nuclear plants is due to be held in mid-June.
The Associated Press reports that this past weekend, tens of thousands of people turned out in Germany's largest cities to protest the use of nuclear power in the wake of Japan's Fukushima reactor disaster. Police said that in Berlin alone, more than 100,000 people took to the capital's streets to urge Germany's leaders to immediately abolish nuclear power. Meanwhile, organizers say some 250,000 people marched at the rallies dubbed Fukushima Warns, pull the plug on all nuclear power plants. They were the biggest anti-nuclear protests in the country's history. Those things have to go. There are enough alternatives, and I'd rather save some electricity than to have those nuclear plants in our country, in Europe, or elsewhere in the world. The disaster at Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear facility triggered Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative government to order a temporary shutdown of 7 of the country's older reactors, pending thorough safety investigations. Officials have since hinted several of them might never go back into service. Protesters shouted, "Fukushima, Chernobyl, too much is too much," urging the government to shut down the country's 17 reactors for good. They also held a minute of silence to remember the victims of Japan's March 11th earthquake and tsunami. Police said that in the northern port city of Hamburg, some 40,000 turned out and more than 30,000 were on the streets in southern Munich. Cologne police did not provide a figure and referred to the organizers' estimate of 40,000 protesters there. BUND, in turn, said some 120,000 turned out in Berlin, 50,000 in Hamburg, and 40,000 in Cologne and Munich each.
We're joined by Jan Beranek. He is the head of Greenpeace's nuclear campaign. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Jan. Talk about the IAEA and its role in nuclear power around the world.
Good morning. Well, so we may have heard actually from the speech of Mr. Amano. The IAEA is now focusing its efforts to restore the public confidence in nuclear power and to help other countries expand the usage of civilian nuclear reactors to generate electricity. And this is actually one of the bottlenecks of the problem, which is that IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is not, as many people may perceive, an objective body whose first priority is to enforce strong safety standards, but it has a mission which is encoded in its statutes, which is actually to promote civilian nuclear power and expand nuclear power worldwide. So in that sense, IAEA actually has a conflict of interests, which we may see happening before, after Chernobyl accident, when again it was saying all the safety standards need to be improved, there is transparency, there are all these conditions in place, but yet we have seen the Fukushima disaster, and it seems that IAEA is sticking to the old same tune.